Let me ask you something. Have you ever been with a guy and thought to yourself, why isn't he opening up more? Why isn't he showing more interest in me? You've probably tried to be kind, supportive, even complimentary, but it felt like your words didn't quite land. Here's the truth: most people don't realize men are starving for compliments, but not just any compliment. You see, men are used to surface level stuff. They might hear, oh, you look handsome, or that shirt looks nice on you. And sure, that feels good for a second, but it doesn't stick. It doesn't make him think about you when you're not around. What really gets into a man's heart are the compliments that go deeper. Compliments that make him feel like you see him in a way the rest of the world doesn't. And when you master this, you go from being just another woman in his life to the one woman he can't stop thinking about. I'll give you an example. Imagine he tells you about a challenge at work. Most women might say, oh, that sounds tough, and move on. But if you look at him and say, the way you think through problems is incredible, I really admire that, suddenly he feels a surge of pride, connection, and attraction. That one line can change how he sees you. That's why in this video, I'm going to give you 6 specific compliments that actually make a man fall for you. Not cheesy lines, not flattery that goes in one ear and out the other, but powerful, genuine compliments that will make him feel seen, respected, and emotionally pulled towards you in a way he can't ignore. Are you ready? Let's dive in. When you tell a man, I love the way you think, it's not just a compliment, it's a statement that cuts through the noise of all the shallow things he's ever heard. Think about how men usually get praised. Maybe someone says he looks good in his shirt, or they notice his new haircut, or they laugh at a joke he made. Those things are nice, but they're surface level. What men almost never hear is that their mind, the way they process the world, their creativity, their perspective is actually valuable. And here's the secret: men desperately want to feel that their intelligence and ideas matter. Imagine he's sharing with you how he solved a problem at work. Maybe he's explaining the way he handled a tough client, or how he came up with a creative solution to something everyone else struggled with. Most people might just nod along or say, that's cool. But when you stop and say, whoa, I love the way you think about that, suddenly he lights up inside. Why? Because you're not just acknowledging what he did, you're admiring how his mind works. That's a compliment that makes him feel respected on a level very few people reach. This kind of compliment also creates emotional intimacy. When you tell him you love the way he thinks, you're saying you find his inner world fascinating. And if there's one thing men crave in a deep connection, it's the feeling that someone genuinely enjoys and values what's inside their head, not just what's on the outside. It makes him want to share more with you. It makes him want to open up because he feels safe knowing that his thoughts don't just pass by unnoticed. You actually treasure them. Another reason this works so well is because it builds respect. Respect is the cornerstone of attraction. You can admire a man's looks, but looks fade. You can admire his status, but that doesn't always last either. What makes him feel truly powerful and masculine is when you respect the part of him that he's worked hard to build, his perspective, his wisdom, his ability to see solutions when others can't. Telling him, I love the way you think, says, I see you as a man who has something valuable to offer the world, and men fall for women who make them feel like the best, smartest version of themselves. Now, I'm not saying you should throw this compliment around all the time or say it without meaning it. Men can tell when you're just being polite. The magic comes when you genuinely notice something about his thought process that you admire. Maybe he looks at situations differently. Maybe he finds opportunities where others see problems. Maybe he explains something in a way that makes it click for you. That's the moment to say it. Because when you do, you're not just complimenting his brain, you're connecting with his soul. And that's the kind of compliment that doesn't just make him smile for a moment. That's the kind of compliment that makes him remember you. When you tell a man, I feel safe with you, you're giving him one of the most powerful compliments he can ever hear. And I don't just mean physical safety, though of course that's part of it. What I'm talking about goes deeper. It's the emotional safety, the sense that when he's around you, you can relax, you can trust him, and you feel protected in a way that the world doesn't usually give you. That compliment taps into something primal in a man. It connects to one of his deepest instincts, the desire to be your protector, to be the person you lean on when life feels heavy. Imagine this. He's walking you to your car after a date, And without thinking, he positions himself on the side closest to the street. You notice it, and instead of just saying thank you, you look at him and say, I feel really safe with you. In that moment, you've not only acknowledged his action, you've acknowledged his presence in your life. He instantly feels more important, more masculine, more valuable, because you've tied his identity to something he's proud to provide your sense of security. And it doesn't have to just be about the physical moments. Maybe you had a hard day and you open up to him about something that's weighing on you. He listens without judgment, without trying to rush you or dismiss your feelings. If you take a breath and say, I feel so safe talking to you, that moment will stay with him. It tells him that who he is, his patience, his understanding, his steadiness, makes you feel at peace. For a man, that's gold, because most men aren't used to being seen that way. They're used to being admired for what they achieve, not for how they show up emotionally. This compliment works because it affirms the role he wants to play in your life. Men want to feel needed, not in a way that makes them feel burdened, but in a way that makes them feel like their presence adds real value. When you say, I feel safe with you, you're essentially saying, you make my world better just by being in it. And that ignites a deep sense of pride and responsibility in him. But here's the key, you have to mean it. Men can sense empty flattery a mile away, so don't force this line. Use it when it's true. When he does something that genuinely makes you feel protected, whether physically or emotionally, that's your chance. Deliver it with authenticity, and it will land like a lightning bolt. Because here's what happens after you say it. He starts associating himself with your feelings of comfort and safety. He starts to feel like he's the man who gives you peace in a chaotic world. And once a man identifies himself as that for you, falling in love isn't far behind. He won't just want to be with you. He'll want to keep being the reason you feel that way. When you tell a man, you inspire me, you're giving him one of the most intoxicating feelings he can experience. Think about it. Most men spend their lives working hard, chasing goals, and pushing through challenges, often without anyone really noticing the effort behind it. Sure, people might admire the outcome. They might say, nice car, or great job, or that's impressive. But rarely do they hear that who they are actually sparks something powerful in another person. That's why the words, you inspire me, carry so much weight. You're not just saying you like what he does, you're saying he moves you, he makes you want to be better. He leaves an imprint on your life. Picture this. He tells you about how he stayed late at work to finish a project because he didn't want to let his team down. Most people would nod politely, maybe say, that's dedication. But imagine you look him in the eye and say, that's incredible. You really inspire me to push harder in my own life. Suddenly, he's not just a man who works late. He's a man who's a source of strength and motivation to you. And that's an identity he'll cling to. Here's the magic. When you tell a man he inspires you, you're flipping a switch in his mind. You're showing him that he's not just attractive, he's impactful. And every man wants to feel like he makes a difference, not just in his job, not just in his achievements, but in the life of the woman he cares about. This compliment feeds directly into his need for purpose, and men fall for the women who make them feel like they matter on that level. It doesn't even have to be about big things. Maybe he gets up early to go to the gym, and you say, you inspire me to take better care of myself. Maybe he takes care of his family in a way that impresses you, and you tell him, you inspire me to be more giving. Maybe he's chasing a dream, and you say, watching you go after what you want inspires me to go after my own goals. These are small moments, but they land with massive impact. And here's the beautiful part. When you tell a man he inspires you, you're not just building him up, you're creating a deeper bond. Because suddenly, he doesn't just see himself as someone who impresses you, he sees himself as someone who elevates you. He starts to associate his actions with your growth, your happiness, your drive. And when he ties his identity to you becoming better, that's when the emotional connection becomes magnetic. The truth is, men fall in love with women who make them feel significant. And nothing makes a man feel more significant than knowing he's the reason someone he admires is becoming stronger, happier, or more fulfilled. So when you tell him, you inspire me, don't underestimate how deeply those 3 words sink in. They don't just make him proud, they make him want to keep showing up as the man who continues to inspire you. And that's exactly how love takes root. When you tell a man, I love how passionate you are about, and you finish that sentence with something he truly cares about, you're doing more than just complimenting an interest. You're validating his fire. Men crave admiration for their drive, their energy, their devotion to the things that make them feel alive. And when a woman notices and appreciates that, it's like oxygen to a flame. It makes him burn even brighter, and it makes him connect that feeling directly to you. Think about it. Every man has something he's passionate about. For some, it's his career. For others, it might be fitness, music, sports, or even something as simple as the way he talks about a movie he loves. When he shares that passion, he's revealing a part of himself that feels authentic and unfiltered, and most people dismiss it. They might politely listen, maybe nod, maybe even tease him about being too into it. But when you look at him with genuine admiration and say, "I love how passionate you are about this," you're showing him that his enthusiasm isn't too much, it's attractive. Imagine he's telling you about a project at work he's excited about, and his eyes light up as he explains his idea. If you stop him and say, "I love how passionate you are about your work," it's inspiring. You've just given him a gift, because now he doesn't feel like he's boring you or oversharing. He feels celebrated for the very thing that drives him. This compliment works because passion is deeply tied to identity. What a man is passionate about often represents what he values, what he stands for, and what gives his life meaning. By appreciating his passion, you're essentially saying, "I see who you are at your core, and I admire it." That's far more powerful than just telling him he looks good or that he's funny. It tells him his inner fire is attractive, not just his outer shell. And here's the secret benefit. When you acknowledge a man's passion, you encourage him to share more of himself with you. He feels safe opening up about his goals, his dreams, even his struggles, because he knows you won't shut him down. You'll appreciate him more for it. That kind of space builds trust and intimacy faster than anything else. It also positions you as someone who gets him in a way others don't. Most people in his life might roll their eyes when he goes on about his interests. But you lean in, you enjoy it, you affirm it. And that contrast makes you unforgettable. So the next time you see him light up about something, whether it's his career, his side hustle, or even his favorite hobby, don't just smile and nod. Look him in the eyes and say, "I love how passionate you are about this." Because when you do, you're not just complimenting his interests, you're complimenting his soul. And when a man feels like his soul is admired, he can't help but start falling for the person who made him feel that way. When you tell a man, "You make things better just by being here," you're giving him one of the purest, most heart-melting compliments he'll ever receive. Because think about it, so much of the time, men feel like their value comes from what they do. Did they fix something? Did they solve a problem? Did they provide? Did they perform? The world constantly measures them by results. But what they rarely hear is that their presence alone, not their actions, not their achievements, not their money, is enough to create value. And when you give him that feeling, it hits him in a way no surface compliment ever could. Imagine you're at a social gathering together. Maybe you don't know many people there and you're feeling a little uncomfortable. But then he shows up, walks over to you, and instantly you feel lighter, calmer, happier. In that moment, if you turn to him and say, "You make things better just by being here," you're telling him that his energy alone transforms the space. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to entertain you. Just being him, standing next to you already makes a difference. That's an incredibly validating thing for a man to hear. This compliment works on such a deep level because it tells him that he doesn't need to constantly earn your admiration. He doesn't have to prove himself with grand gestures or constant effort. Instead, it tells him that he, in his simplest, most authentic form, is enough. And when a man feels like he's enough for you, his attachment to you grows stronger. Because he's not exhausted trying to impress you. He's relaxed knowing that his mere presence already adds value to your life. Think about how rare it is for men to hear this. They might get praised for buying something, fixing something, achieving something. But how often does someone pause, look them in the eye and say, you being here just makes things better? Almost never. And that rarity makes the compliment unforgettable. It's also a compliment that deepens intimacy. It communicates that you're not with him because of what he provides or what he achieves. You're with him because of who he is. That creates emotional safety for him, which is something men rarely admit they crave, but desperately do. He'll start to associate being around you with a sense of peace, joy, and acceptance. The next time you're together, whether you're out with friends, curled up on the couch, or just sitting quietly in the car, try saying it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just say it with sincerity. You make things better just by being here. Watch how his face softens, how his shoulders relax, how his energy shifts. Because deep down, every man wants to feel like he matters in a way that doesn't require effort. And when you give him that gift, when you tell him that just existing beside you is enough, you become the person he feels most himself with. And that, more than anything, is what makes a man fall deeply in love. When you tell a man, I'm proud of you, you're giving him a compliment that can change the way he sees himself and the way he sees you. Because here's the truth. Most men don't hear those words nearly enough. Growing up, maybe his parents didn't say it as often as they should have. In his career, his boss might acknowledge his work, but rarely praises him personally. In relationships, he may hear that he's attractive or funny. I'm proud of you is a whole different level. It doesn't just say, I like you. It says, I recognize your effort, your growth, and your achievements, and they matter to me. That's powerful. Imagine this. He tells you about a promotion he's been working toward, or maybe he just finished a project that took a lot of energy. Most people might say, congrats, that's awesome. But if you look at him and say, I'm so proud of you, it hits different, because now it's not just about the accomplishment. It's about the fact that you see the man behind it. You recognize the dedication, the hours, the persistence, the struggle that went into getting there. And when he feels that you truly see him, he feels valued in a way the outside world rarely gives him. But here's the secret. It doesn't only apply to big milestones. In fact, it's even more impactful when you say it for the little things. Maybe he gets up early to go for a run when he didn't feel like it, and you say, I'm proud of you for sticking with your routine. Maybe he handles a stressful situation calmly, and you tell him, I'm proud of how you dealt with that. Even something as simple as him being consistent with his word, showing up when he said he would, can earn. I'm proud of you. It shows him that his everyday efforts don't go unnoticed. This compliment works because it taps into a man's need for recognition. Men want to feel like their hard work and their character are acknowledged. And when those words come from the woman he admires and desires, they stick. They don't just stroke his ego, they feed his soul. They tell him that who he is and what he's doing is enough, and that the woman he cares about respects him for it. It also strengthens the bond between you because it positions you as his teammate, his cheerleader, the person in his corner. He doesn't just see you as someone he wants to impress. He sees you as someone who notices the man he's becoming and celebrates it with him. That sense of partnership is addictive. It makes him want to keep rising, to keep growing, to keep earning that pride from you. So don't underestimate the power of those 4 little words, I'm proud of you. To him, it's not just a compliment, it's a reminder that he's becoming the man he wants to be and that you see it. And when he feels that from you, you're no longer just someone in his life. You become the woman who makes him feel like the best version of himself. And that's the kind of woman men fall in love with and never want to let go. So let's bring this all together. Compliments are not just nice little words, they're tools of connection. The right compliment can slip past a man's defenses, a cut through the surface level ego strokes he's used to, and land straight in his heart. When you tell a man, I love the way you think, he feels respected. When you say, I feel safe with you, he feels trusted. When you whisper, you inspire me, he feels significant. When you admire, I love how passionate you are about, he feels seen. When you remind him, you make things better just by being here, he feels valued for who he is, not just what he does. And when you look at him and say, I'm proud of you, he feels recognized in a way he rarely ever does. These aren't cheesy lines. They're not manipulative tricks. They're powerful truths that, when spoken authentically, make a man feel something he can't forget. They make him feel like he's not just liked, not just desired, but deeply cherished. And when a man feels that way, he doesn't just enjoy your company. He starts to imagine a future with you. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you're with the man in your life, pick one of these compliments and use it. Watch his body language change. Watch how his energy softens, how his pride shows up, how his eyes light up in a way you may not have seen before. Because the truth is, men fall for the woman who makes them feel like their best, true selves. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more relationship advice, and drop me a comment below. Which of these 6 compliments are you going to try first? Because trust me, once you see the reaction, you'll understand just how powerful your words can really be